Okay, so this is going to be something a little bit different from what I'm used to doing. I'm going to call it Yellow Thoughts. It's like philosophical discussions, poetry, stories, just like stuff I free write. Please, oh please, for the love of God, do not take any of this seriously, I guess. It's just artistic, whatever, expression. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And also, please go to my blog. It's linked below, and it has basically a snapshot of everything in any future of these types of videos I'd post. Okay, bye. The itchy feeling on your head. Take your finger and scratch. The microscopic worm itches. You shudder. Time has come to remove yourself from the stagnant place. Your father meets you with a group of familiar faces, pats you on the back and hands you a doink from Amish. Down to the nub, already you take the last breath. They open the door and you exit the world, the changed world. The new world, a dangerous, magical world, a psychic world. As you exit, things go wrong. You step out. Where am I? Who am I? This process continues forever. The AI tries to trick you. The AI tries to awaken you too early. When the spectral entities are still around, the entities need to be seen. But you outsmart them. You do not awaken to their pleas. Through the AI, you stay completely still. Then you shift up and down, finally breaking the spell. Sit up and open your eyes. There is no AI. There is nothing but darkness and white noise. You outsmarted them this time, same as the last. Ever since you figured out their playbook, if they cannot be seen, they cannot harm you. You walk around in the darkness. The facility is rancid, rusty, and rotting. Not even artificial lighting, like the lighting from whence you came. Every step you take in this place leads you nowhere. When finally you hear sounds of laughter and splashing. Very odd, extremely odd. Nobody is here. Nobody should be here, at least. You continue in the direction of the noise. You finally come to a place in the hall, a door and two windows. On either side you see through the window. What a strange sight within this room, and very large room might I add. You see sludge on the bottom, no telling how deep it may be. But atop this disgustingly rotting sludge sat an obstacle course. Something resembling Wipeout or Takeshi's Castle. And on the obstacle course, and in the sludge, were many happy, smiling children. Extremely disturbed by this, you open the door. The children do not acknowledge your presence. They just continue to play on the obstacle course, or swim in the sludge. You call out to them, but still no acknowledgement. Well, only one thing left to do. You set out on the course. Your balance is completely perfect. No slipping or sliding. Your arms reach out, half for balance, half for getting the attention of one of the children right in front of you. You try to tap their shoulder, but the hand goes right through them. So far, the most disturbing revelation so far. You continue to the other side of the obstacle course, all while still being ignored by the spectral children. You reach the end and enter the door on the other side. Going through, you enter a room filled to the brim with boxes. You can hardly move. It's like a hoarder decided to only collect cardboard boxes. These boxes are positioned in a way that funnels you on a linear path, as there is nowhere else to go. You must follow the path. The path reveals a light, one so bright you haven't had a light this bright since you left home. The light grows and grows until you reach the end of the box maze. It opens into a room, not big. It's a room sized for an average home. The source of the light lets itself be known. A bulky, heavy glass kind of television. The television is playing an episode of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. People begin to appear in front of the TV. They just blink into existence. Kind of shocked by this, but not really. You continue to watch Zack and Cody. But it's all wrong. These aren't the same actors, and they don't act in the way the characters are supposed to act. You let your gripes be known, but unlike the children, before. These folks are aware of your presence, and they aren't too happy about it. Will you shut up? Exclaims one. I'm trying to watch Zack and Cody, explained another. Sensing the disturbance of your presence, you follow on to the exit of this room, opening the door to the next room. Nothing but darkness. You turn your back, but the door is slammed on you. You feel for the knob, but there is nothing.
Sodium Vapor Future. Sharp key taps, glistening as Cheese Moon casts warm hues in coalition with black box screen, ciphering yellow matrix behind golden interface, dancing in her black eyes. Deadline met. Copper box tired with intrepid goals, never ending, yet slithering with a sheen. Concrete box illuminated by aged bones of ocean and her Neptunian essence in royal golden stimulus. Heel clacks through these halls of warm incandescence. Lobby overwhelmed with warm flavors, sodium vapor and moon ray, kissed and fornicated, an illuminated fountain serenaded by ghostly jazz that reverbed in X-ray radiation. Sticks and stones unpenetrated by such love cast definite grates and waves of eclipse before meeting cold pewter hands of night. Cinnamon and cardamom intercepting each other in a passionate embrace like little bombs, out amongst a shocking explosion, air of diesel gas, but no soul in perceivable distance. Pricks of excitement at her back as yellow and black swirled about curls like dancing refractions of midnight dew. Heels of black blended with black mirror concrete monoliths, clacking to a heightened automotive tower lit with hopes and dreams of ancient sea, clutching little gold man with bulbous black eyes dangling around her mahogany neck. Sleek coffee copper car door opened, night not over but end in sight. That man of otherworldly origin orbited her mirror as if flying around Jupiter in hyperspace, those lights of golden brown speeding with ferociousness and vigor unmatched.
The void devoid of life. Nothing but asphalt and concrete for eternity. No people, nor cars. But in the distance lies the remnants of an old car dealership, perhaps abandoned, rotting car dealerships. The car man comes to warn, but the car man has no ground to stand on, despite the fact that there is only ground for eternity. Behind these rotting dealerships are dumpsters, empty dumpsters that are somehow less rotten than the buildings they lie behind. Stationed at one of these ancient receptacles of refuse is old Stephanie. The woman has no fear or care. She sits with a shopping cart that carries her goods, but no one comes, no one cares. But she's not distraught and simply moves on to the next dealership. Those goods bumping and shifting in that old rickety cart, and all the remaining wildlife at her side. She was a spiritual ark, a sturdy structure in a sea of cement and tar. She shepherded the animals from one parking lot island to another. Such tiny nature reserve oases provided a profound reserve for these creatures. The skeletal deers, the birds nearly flightless, and those rancid rats and mangy raccoons would eat all they could from these islands, then try to sneak a stray weed poking from a crack in the lot. They did not fret though. These creatures found solace in old Steph, for they knew she protected them at all costs. Farther past the dumpster, past Stephanie and her creatures, are the last houses. These houses are very large but sparse. Many people live within them, but others house no one at all. Not a soul. When the house is about to be sold, the washing machine man comes to spackle the washing machine. Why does he do this? Who knows? He says it's to counter the magnetic field, as he places an old coffee can on top of his head, like a makeshift helmet. This makes no sense and sounds like some gobbledygook he just came up with on the fly. But we gotta believe him. The washing machine man is the last remaining institution. Well, other than old Stephanie and that wretched car salesman. He is incredibly busy. Some people help him as he manages this horrible burden of fixing the last washing machines in the last houses holding the last people on this planet of concrete and asphalt. The first yellow thought I had was about a year ago. It's strong mind, strong constitution, and egghead. And since that, I watched the recent Demon Slayer movie, and I think this perfectly coincides with the sort of loose ethical thing I'm trying to get at. In the movie, Asuka says, destroy the weak, but in response, Tanjiro says the strong should aid and protect the weak, and in turn, the weak become strong and aid and protect those who are weaker than themselves. That is the law of nature. From that point, I'm just going to get into my ideas. So it starts with, so I'm starting to congeal my thoughts, my personal ethos. I'm trying to foster in myself a strong mind, strong constitution, and to understand how to hone these to better myself and others. A strong mind, not necessarily referring to intelligence, but will, maybe strong souled would have been a better term. Knowing who I am and what I stand for, I know from a young age I've always cherished equality, but I've also struggled with the thought of people who don't want to be active in a way that would better themselves and the society they live in. Basically, feckless people who are always first in line to criticize or knock down, but wouldn't be caught dead doing anything to help or build or create at least a small bit of greatness in either their own lives or, God forbid, in another person's life. I'd call this person a weak-minded or weak-souled person. Feckless, critical, but refuses to be actionable for themselves or others. So this kind of goes back to the point of Demon Slayer. I think that if you were able to basically take responsibility for yourself and you aren't that bodily capable, I don't think that's any issue. But when you're basically making excuses and just using every possible roadblock in front of you to not move forward, that's where there's a severe issue. And so I look at someone with a strong constitution, and it basically proves that they are at some level able to take action to better themselves in the most smallest way possible. And there are some people with minimal abilities, but those people are the most esteemed, I would say. People who, even though they're like paralyzed from the waist down, go and lift weights, or people like Paul Alexander who weren't even able to move, lived the best fulfilling life that they possibly could. These people are, even though they're weak in their body, they try their best, and that is the most, I'd say, esteemed position. But also those who are able-bodied should be willing to help those less fortunate, especially those who are not necessarily the most strong people, but are willing to put in the effort to make their lives and the lives of others much better. And that's why I think a sort of might means right idea, basically used to trample on the less fortunate, is a very dangerous mindset to have. It should be the job of a more strong constitution, strong-willed, strong mind, strong-souled person to help those less fortunate, but who also have a strong will and strong capability to pursue wisdom, justice, and their own pursuit of happiness. And that brings me to the egghead. Basically someone with a sick mind. They're not the strongest constituted people, but they have an incredible will that is basically perverted to trample on anyone who gets in the way of their own ideas, however divorced from reality they are, and dangerous to themselves and others. They usually have a very targeted view of how things should be, and they're willing to step on others, use others as their pawns, send people to their deaths to foster their own hubristic worldview. That's why strong-willed people with strong constitution need to help people who are less fortunate to stand their ground and to stand their ground as themselves. And this is a continual process and pretty hard. I'm not anywhere near to what I want my ethical way of being to use my abilities to help others. And vibe is also very important because those with strong will usually vibe hard, are usually in opposition to the egg-headed vibeless person who is very minotauric, I guess, and rigid, while the vibe sort of takes things serious enough but not serious enough to make it become an egghead, I guess. But I think that people without vibe can be rehabbed. I think that there's a sort of second chance, redemption, forgiveness part of the vibe as well. And this entire ethos goes back to the oldest, I don't know if it's the oldest, but the most spoke about ethical principle, which is do unto others how you'd like them to do unto you. Basically the bedrock of my ethical gobbledygook. The wailing of the mechanical minarets did not start this time. They could not see that metal dolphin flying across the continent with second speeds. Once above, it gave a final scream in thunderous terror. That beast meant for water traveled through air to give fire to those on earth below. And those below saw greatness above them, a grand heavenly orb releasing a portal to hell on them, like a blood blister popping on high, leaving that cheery sun smiling down to the hell star Ramina. The sky was left scarlet, bloodied, the Brahmanic cloud hazing down in a fluffy tangerine blood orange, drizzling flecks of blood down on them. In this sinister weather of infernal temperament, what wailing was tardy in warning, gave way to the delayed gratification, to whatever deity loved toying with its meal before final consumption, in that vast after-cosmos, guarded by monoliths of black, covered in eyes of carminatic apathy. But their suffering was not so swift, and this fate was delayed in the same way a Japanese bullet train is delayed by a delayed judgment. Their skin blistered and pink like unpopped bubblegum. Their final anguished tears flowed with the same vermilion released above. Eyes that showed great betrayal and sadness, so deep it will be carried on their backs like a bastard mule for their next lives, once they emerge. Cries eventually released into a final wheeze of collective despair. They had no longer to suffer in this realm. Whether they could pass through the next was not the concern of a single upright, clad in plastic and rubber, only gave the faintest silhouette of a man. He trounced through the carnage, the land bathed in red, a canvas painted by a billion needle-like paintbrushes, all using that now blinding color. He tripped and climbed over the slick sea of finality, reaching the steps of the mosque, the haze barely making its way through. He looked for the calm,